Chapter 26. Scourge hovered on the edge of sleep. His body was exhausted, but his mind was churning. Unable to still his thoughts and let sleep wash over him, he tossed and turned. Unlike his Jedi companions, he had never learned to sit and meditate in order to draw sustenance from the Force. The dark side was about action and activity, not restful contemplation. But he knew that if he didn't try something, he would have to endure a long and restless night. He propped himself into a sitting position and closed his eyes, trying to open himself up to the Force. Taking slow, deep breaths, he focused on letting his mind open itself to the infinite possibilities swirling through time and space. After several minutes, he managed to drift into a state of semi-consciousness. Revan lay motionless on the floor of the Citadel's throne room. Mitra and Scourge lay beside him, their bodies twisted and broken, clinging to the last moments of life. The Emperor approached the trio, regarding them with a cold and casual contempt as he loomed above his fallen adversaries. Scourge tried to stand and flee, but his crippled limbs wouldn't support his weight. All he could do was crawl on his belly like a worm. His efforts drew the attention of the Emperor, who didn't speak, but came over and lowered himself to one knee. He grabbed Scourge by the shoulder and rolled him over so he was staring up into the twin voids of the Emperor's eyes. As he reached out a hand and placed it on Scourge's forehead, the Sith began to scream. Scourge's eyes popped open as his mind snapped to a fully alert state of consciousness. His heart was pounding, and he could still hear the sound of his own scream ringing in his ears. Glancing around the cave, he realized the scream must have been confined to his mind. Neither Mitra nor Revan had reacted in any way. She was sitting in the same cross-legged pose Revan had often assumed during his time in Nyrus's prison. Revan was kneeling in front of T3M4, hunched forward as he rewatched the holovid of his wife and son. Scourge shook his head, trying to push away the remnants of his dream. But the memory stayed with him, and he began to realize that what he had seen was something more than a mere nightmare. The experience lacked the hazy, surreal feel of a dream. It had been too vivid, the details too sharp and precise to be a figment manifested by his subconscious. There was only one possible explanation for what had happened. The Force had given Scourge a vision. Scourge's hands began to tremble slightly as he realized he had witnessed his own destruction at the Emperor's hand. Even worse, the vision made it clear that both Mitra and Revan would suffer the same fate. He had opened himself up to the Force, and it had shown him that their coming mission would end in failure. He glanced over at the Jedi, wondering if he should warn them. Even if he did, would they believe what he said? Could he believe it? His training at the Academy had taught him little about the prophetic abilities of the Force. Was what he had seen inevitable, or was it a fate he could somehow avoid? Maybe his strong connection to the dark side would somehow color his visions, distorting them so they showed the worst of all possible futures. The simplest course would be to tell Revan what he had seen and hear his opinion of it. But Scourge knew his allies' trust in him was already fragile. If he admitted he thought their mission was doomed, it could convince them he couldn't be trusted. They might even decide it was his presence that caused their failure. After all, he was the one who had seen the vision. Scourge continued to struggle with what he had seen, trying to understand what it meant and what he should do about it. But after several more minutes of silently talking himself in circles, he realized he simply wouldn't find the answers on his own. He pushed himself to his feet and went over to where Revan was sitting. T3 paused the playback of the holovid as he approached, but left the still image of Revan's wife and son hovering in the air.
"May I speak with you?" Scourge asked, taking a seat beside the Jedi without waiting for a reply.
"You may," Revan said, not bothering to tear his gaze away from the projection of his family. "I want to know more about the Force," Scourge said. "I want to understand it as you do." Revan turned to give him a quizzical look. "You want to know this now? This might be our last chance," Scourge said. "I've been thinking about something you said to me the last time we spoke in your cell." "What is that?" "You knew Mitra was coming to rescue you because the Force had given you a vision." Revan smiled. "Actually, I was bluffing. I was trying to trick you. I was hoping you might dream of me escaping, and think the Force was guiding you to help me."
"Is that how it happens?"
Scourge asked, slightly miffed at Revan's confession. They come to you in your dreams? No. A force vision is more powerful than any dream. There is an intensity that jumps out at you, and the details do not fade. But I figured you wouldn't know the difference. I do now, Scourge thought. I won't apologize for lying to you, Revan said, mistaking the reason for his companion's silence. And if it makes you feel any better, I actually did have a vision of Mitra after we spoke. That seems a highly unlikely coincidence, Scourge noted. That is the way of the Force. Revan said, cause and effect are not a simple linear relationship. The Force transcends space and time. It flows through us and around us. It influences our past, present, and future. Maybe I spoke to you of visions because I knew the Force was trying to reach out to me. Or maybe Mitra came to Drummond Cass because I told you someone was coming to rescue me, but she started looking for you long before we had our conversation, Scourge protested. It's complicated. Revan answered with a cryptic smile. Jedi scholars have devoted centuries to understanding the ways of the Force, and we have only scratched the surface. Scourge silently tried to digest what he was being told. At the same time, he tried to form the questions that would give him the answers he wanted, without revealing what he had seen. Once you had the vision of Mitra, were you certain she was coming? Did you know for sure that she would help free you? Revan shook his head. We can never be certain about anything. The future is always in motion, and a vision shows you only one of many possible outcomes. Then what purpose do visions serve? They guide us, Revan explained. They give us focus. They show us a goal to strive for, or something we can work to prevent. So the visions are not absolute? As I said, the future is always in motion. There was another long period of silence before Scourge asked another question. Have you had any visions of what will happen when we face the Emperor? No, Revan said. The dark side obscures my sight. We are walking into a time and place of shadows, and I cannot promise you that we will ever come out. Doesn't that terrify you? Fear is only an emotion, a trick the mind plays on us. You must learn to set your fear aside. We Sith are taught to embrace our fear, Scourge told him. We transform it into anger, and use it to fuel the power of the dark side. But then your actions will always be driven by that fear, Revan said. And what are your actions driven by? Scourge asked. Logic? Reason? No, Revan admitted. If I were reasonable, I would never have left my family behind to face the Emperor. Then why did you do it? Revan nodded in the direction of the holoprojection. For them. I want my son to live a long and healthy life. I want him to know peace, not war. I've come to stop the Emperor for him. And what if we don't stop him? Scourge said, treading perilously close to the heart of what he really wanted to say. What if he's too strong? That is a possibility, Revan admitted. But even if we fail to defeat the Emperor, there is still hope. My return will give him pause. He will wonder how I threw off the... He will wonder why I have returned, and how much the Republic now knows of his plan. He will even wonder about Malak. For all the Emperor knows, Malak is still out there, plotting to take the Emperor down if I fail. You're just trying to buy time, Scourge gasped. You don't care if the Emperor kills us all. You just want to delay him. No, Revan said. I want to live. Even more, I want to purge the galaxy of his evil once and for all. But I understand that there can be victory even in defeat. Even if we fall, we will buy time. Maybe a few years. More likely a few decades. Time for your son to become a man, Scourge noted bitterly. Are you hoping he will finish what you might not? Him or someone else, Revan admitted. The Force always strives for balance. The Emperor is an agent of darkness and destruction. It is inevitable that a champion of the light will one day rise to oppose him. I may be that champion. He spoke with no hint of hubris. I've played the role before. At the very least, I will make the Emperor step back and reconsider his plan. If that is my fate, if my role is to sacrifice myself for the one who will come next, then I embrace it. Scourge shook his head. I'm beginning to think you are as mad as the Emperor. I have no intention of dying tomorrow. Neither do I, but if death comes, I will face it without fear. You will find our task easier if you can convince yourself to do the same, he said, before turning his attention back to the holo projection. "Start over from the beginning," Revan told T3, and the astromech obediently restarted the recording. Scourge got to his feet and walked back to the section of the cave he had been sitting in earlier. He briefly considered talking to Mitra, then realized that would be a waste of time. She would only echo what Revan had said. The Sith sat down and crossed his legs again, closing his eyes. But he wasn't able to clear his mind this time. Instead, he kept running over Revan's words, playing them against the enduring images of his vision, trying to understand what it